Hello, welcome. It is time for more God of War. I'll go to the right screen there. Yeah, so we're this is week 2 of the series. Hey Steve, yes, time for some Spartan rage. Though he doesn't seem to have much rage at the moment. He's very chill in comparison. But yeah, not gonna faff about on it. We're just gonna get into it and see what cast we get up to. So I will say though, we just finished fighting a couple of tougher enemies, and we're trying to now work out a puzzle. That's where we ended up on Thursday. Um, so we're in the Temple of Delphi, or Delphi, as they say in the game. We're about 3 hours in. We're on chapter 11. So a bit of information for people there. Let's go to the full screen, and let's get into it. Now, remembering this opens up those, but nothing. Well, you were doing better than me because the last time I played this game was for a review. And I'd have to check the save file when it was created. But it was definitely a while ago. Well, that would do it. Oh no! We can't reach it. Whatever will we do? Uh, I don't remember if it had trophies on it back then either. I think the biggest thing that I remember from this one, and I again seeing it the menu on the front of the game. Not what I wanted. But seeing the menu on the front of the game, it had The Last of Us, like, beta attached to it, which kind of makes me laugh. Yeah, thankfully, this one is the digital version, because, reviewing things. The only games that I have on disc are the PSP games in the collection, which I actually opened up from its plastic for the first time a week and a half ago. I do have a PSP, and I think I have one of them. Let me just see. No, sorry. It's Motorstorm that I'm thinking of. I'm like, I know I've got a PlayStation game on my PSP, but no, it's Motorstorm. But I did consider picking them up. I was like, you know, maybe I should. It's not what I wanted at all. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, it's what I've found myself doing a bit more than I had previously. Like, I've been buying some older games digitally just so I've got them. Of course, then there's the problem of, you know, the hard drive inside the PS3 is quite old. Will it be sufficient for... Oh, I missed. Will it be sufficient for what I would need from it and all that sort of stuff? Because I explained this last week. I don't think you were here that stream. I think the game really wants me to kill these guys. Let me go do that so the music stops. Yeah, no, it's definitely something that's happened in the older games as well. Sorry, the newer games. There are rooms where you'll literally just... You'll have, like, this run of, like, easy fights, and then there's a room all of a sudden with, like, waves of enemies. See, he's supposed to latch onto them when they glow. Yeah, I know, it's kind of annoying me. I think it's because I triggered the fight and then ran away. Oh. Yeah, I think the enemy's glitched. That's fine. We'll just ignore him. Yeah, there are some fights where I've had it be like, you know everything you're supposed to do, it just doesn't go your way. That's annoying. It's fine. I think I need to deal with him because I need to... the platform that collapses when it goes old. What was I saying initially? Oh yeah, the age of my PlayStation 3. This is actually an American model because I bought the launch day PS3, you know, for $1,000, and then when it died, it got the yellow light. So I paid $250 to have it repaired. Yeah, so $250 to have it repaired, and PlayStation sent it back like a month and a half later. You know, all hunky-dory. And, like, no problem with it. It lasted 11 months and then it died again. And because I was actually heading over to Los Angeles, like, maybe 6 or 7 weeks later, I just thought, you know what, I'll just buy one when I'm in the States, right? It'll make sense, it'll be fine, it'll be easy. So I bought one, and it actually cost me $70 less to buy one at Target in America than it did to have PlayStation repair my other one again. So while I lost the PS2 backwards compatibility, I had a working PS3. And like, that was fine, I had no issue with that. But now my PS3's, I want to say 2008 or 2009? So it's fairly old. But even if it's 2009, that's, you know, 14 years for a hard drive, which unfortunately means it's on the you know, the wrong side of healthy. Not saying it's going to break or anything anytime soon, but Did not mean to trigger it this time. So it'll be one of those things that once I'm done with the PS3 games, unfortunately there's 5 of them, I will look at replacing the hard drive with something bigger, because I've still got the 120 or the 180 that was in here. And then once I've replaced it, I can download some of the games that I've missed or that I've had to delete over the years. I'm very lucky in that I haven't had a console die on me, like to the point where it doesn't function as a console should. And I'm not talking about like an issue here or there, but I'm saying die. Except for the PS3 with the yellow light and an Xbox 360 that red ringed. Oh, it's nowhere near the platform. Oh, no, that'll be where it's supposed to go. I will say, though, I did chuckle when I was working at EB Games and we were selling the Xbox 360 at launch. Within the hour... so we sold them at 12:01 is when we started selling them. And at, 12:50 a.m., somebody brought their Xbox back because it had red ringed on them.
Place your offerings for Aletheia. We will decide if they are worthy of our will.
I offer nothing.
You presume to seek audience with the Oracle, and yet you bring no offerings? Bold. Stupid, but bold. Although, you must have good reason to seek the Oracle, carrying such a mark. Return when you have brought appropriate sacrifice.
I have come to see the Oracle, and that is what I intend to do.
I would have liked to hear your story, warrior. It is a shame you fail to see reason. Remove him. We have to find a better slave trader.
Like the guy from Total Recall. I mean, look, the 360 issue, maybe they were aware of it, maybe they thought it was like 1 in 100,000. Unfortunately, that's not what it ended up being, but you know.
Your desire to see the Oracle will get you killed.
He gains, you idiot.
Ah.
I know he gains. Leave me be. I will take care of it.
Actually, I lie. I said I haven't had any issues apart from those two. I bought a Switch OLED Splatoon edition, not last year, the year before. Because I just liked the colours of the Joy-Con. I thought they were fantastic. So I bought it, and then like a week later, it just gave up. Like it would not turn on. Nothing would work. And I actually spoke with the folks at Nintendo and said, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, yeah, look, we've got no idea. We've never heard of that.
Meathead! You may be a great warrior, but you have no place in our temple. You will never see the Oracle.
Well, that's the thing. I'm the only one that I know of that's had a Switch that's done something like that. Like, I had on my launch model Switch, the little screw behind the fan vent like cracked and it was annoying me, so they fixed that for me. But that's like a simple cosmetic thing, right?
Why was ye allowed entry to my temple?
I will pause and say this. I am very lucky. This whole Joy-Con drift thing for Switch, I haven't experienced it. But for a while there, I was buying new Joy-Con like every 6 to 8 months because they were releasing new colors, and I was addicted to it because I'm weird like that. Like, this is my original, or this is the PS3 controller that came with the PS3 that I have. And the only thing is, because I dropped it between Monday's stream last week and Thursday's stream last week, I dropped it. So the bottom D-pad is a little sticky because it's like clunked on it. But other than that, it's not an issue. But not that you can see it, but behind my shoulder here, I have 8 Xbox Series X and S controllers because Xbox are very nice and like to send me things. So if I ever do have a problem, I have spares to go. And I have 3 Pro controllers in the living room for the Switch, 1 PS5 controller, 1 Xbox controller there. Yeah, and then a whole bunch of Joy-Cons. So yeah, I'm pretty set on controllers and headsets. I was checking stuff in storage the other day and I found another 4 headsets, which is, insane. That's not fair. I mean, if I ever get controllers sent my way, I'll let you know. Oh, I pinballed off the shield. I'm very, very lucky on my Switch. Let me grab it because it'll make sense. So on my Switch, I like to use this. This is the 8BitDo wireless, ultimate wireless controller is the full name of it. Ultimate Bluetooth controller, sorry. Has a little dock, which it needs to go back in because I keep forgetting to do that. But the reason why it's a great controller is because it has Hall effect sensors, so it has magnetic control sticks, so there's no actual touching of things. So not even a little bit of dust does get in the stick mechanism, it actually won't impede its ability to function. There is somebody that's selling Joy-Con mod kits for it, and I believe there was somebody that had done a PlayStation 5 controller with the Hall effect sensors. Oh, for feck's sake, I jumped in the hole. Like, and I'm very, very lucky that my controller, like that 8BitDo controller, was gifted to me by 8BitDo. Don't. I'll be honest, most of the bosses in Ascension are kind of stupid. Because
I will not allow you to continue.
Story-wise, this game makes no sense.
You will never prevail.
Because they've done it deliberately. It's like, oh, we've got to...
We will see you dead. Die, Mark Warrior.
Like, they used up all the good stuff in the first 3 games. Don't stand there. I don't know if I'd say this is my least favorite fight, but it's definitely not one of the fun ones. Yeah, the biggest problem with the PSP games is that there was no simple dodge. Like on these games, it's assigned to the right stick, which is a problem, you know, because no camera control. But on the PSP, it wasn't that simple because, you know, there was no right stick. Press an X here, game. Come on. Let me just plug this in again. I have ordered a new PS3 controller. I think maybe the console's locked up. If that's the case, that's going to annoy the hell out of me. I actually bought 2 Monster Hunter games on PSP when I was in Japan. Yeah. I'm just going to restart the console. Well, I think I got 1 and 2. Yeah, so I went. So on the Sunday, I flew in on the Saturday, and on the Sunday, I went. My plan was to go to the Nintendo store and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, well, rather than just go straight to like Akihabara, where all the big retro game stores are, the ones that are expensive, I thought what I'll do is I'll head off to one that's a little way away. No, you're not doing a 3-hour hardware check. It wasn't a long way away. It was like 20 minutes away by train. And I thought, odds are these guys will either have a bunch of stuff or they won't, right? Oh. Here we go. Back into the game. So yeah, they'll either have it or they won't. And I thought, well, we'll take the risk on it. So what I did is I went to this store and I was there about 20 minutes before they were set to open. So I just wandered through this Japanese shopping arcade. Nothing wrong with it. Had fun there. I was going to say it's been weird with the purple. And when the store opened, I went in there, and one of the ones that I went to, the actual store, the game section was like 3 times the size of your average EB games, right? Like it was really big. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen one that big. This one that I went to, their game section was literally as wide as I am. It was like 2 feet across. That was it. There was nothing else to this game. And I was like, that's kind of weird that they've done that. So let me pop back to the big screen now. That's loading in. And they had hardly any games that had cases. They had almost no hardware, but they had a couple of junk bins, and it was all PSP stuff. And in the box there were a whole bunch of Monster Hunter games.
You will never prevail. Die, Mark Warrior!
And I thought for the $1.10 Australian that each of these games will cost, I thought, why not, right? So they were the first 2 games that I bought in Japan.
Your might
Look, I knew going into that store they probably wouldn't have a lot of anything. Because it was a small one, it was in the middle of a shopping arcade.
Stop toying with this fool. Kill him, Caster. You now have to deal with me.
Yeah, it's not entirely like interesting. The problem is I keep hitting circle to do like a dodge roll, thinking that'll get me closer. You know, which obviously it's not. But yeah, like I picked up a GameCube game from the junk bin. It was $1. Picked up a couple of DS games for $2. Picked up a Game Boy game for testing purposes. That was $3. I already owned the game in English, but I now have it in Japanese as well. So yeah, so the junk section was interesting. I bought a friend some hardware. He wanted a Game Boy Color and a Game Boy Advance Wide, the original model, for modding purposes. And you know, we were hoping for like some $5 bargains. Didn't find any of those, unfortunately, for the stores that I went to. But we found some ones in the end, and they were marked as junk. And when I said to the store, I said, "Why is it junk?" And they said, "Oh, we don't know." It's like, okay, so they're just not tested. And they're like, we don't know. It's like, okay, well, what do you know? And they're like, okay, they knew nothing. But we took a gamble on the games on the Game Boy consoles working, and they did.
betrayed me. Betrayed us all.
Yeah. No, I bought a lot. I bought some good stuff in Japan. One of the best things that I bought was a DS.
Alethea.
The relic you carry has no effect on me.
Then I fear you are beyond aid.
Do not worry. The situation before me is clear.
I bought a DSi LL, which is the XL.
Your thoughts are clouded and your mind conflicted, warrior. I can feel it. You seek the truth?
So this is the one.
So be it. But remember, the truth
Camera on it.
always comes.
It's kind of like an
surprise.
off grey white color. What's really nice about it is it was marked as junk. The guy said the battery runs down really fast. I said, okay. So I'll just, keep it charged when I'm in Japan, because I bought some games to play on it. And then once the new year rolled around here, I bought a new battery from Gamesman. The battery turned up, and then I realized I actually haven't had to charge this yet.
Complete. What's done is done. It cannot be undone.
The best thing about this, though, apart from the fact, it's locked to Japanese, the DSi models were locked to the language for the country they were sold in. The best thing about this, though, is it was $27.
Because you run from your oath to Ares. They will stop at nothing should you resist.
So the Shade speaks the truth.
The intentions of Orcos are pure,
Orcos. But he is a fury.
and he will play his part in time.
So I gave myself a budget of $50 for a DS because I figured I should be able to find one pretty cheap. And there was some of the original models that were that cheap, but I'm like, no. And there were some DSIs that were around $60 to $70,
See his illusion.
but I didn't want those. I wanted the XL because, I've got big hands.
Keeps the eyes of truth.
Delos.
Find the eyes, and they will show you the path to freedom.
But what I wanted to get three things in Japan: a Game Boy Advance, a DSi XL, and a Vita. The Game Boy Advance I picked up here for $100, which I'm pretty sure I've shown on stream before. It's a fully modded out one. It's got an IPS display, all the works. So I was very happy with that buy. And then yeah, I wanted a DSi XL and a Vita. The only Vitas that I found that were sub $100, and $100 was my budget. Like I didn't want to go any more than that. But the only ones that were above, that were below that price, were generally they were like the 2000 or the 3000 model, and they were really badly scuffed. Like the screens would need to be replaced and all bits and pieces. And I was like, I don't want to deal with that. So I thought, no, okay, we'll ignore that. But I actually bought one via Sendico last week. It was a 2000 model, so it's not the OLED display, unfortunately. But it was... it had a couple of scratches on the back touchpad. So yeah, so I did pretty well. One of the things that well, because he's literally sitting on my desk, I bought myself Chandu. He's from a ride at Tokyo Disney Sea. He's very, very cute. But I bought, some cups because I collect Disney cups. Bought a calendar from Tokyo, which is on my desk. I bought a lot of games, a lot of DS games for obvious reasons. I bought Oblivion on Xbox 360. I have it digitally, and I know I have it on disc somewhere, but I cannot find the disc for the life of me. So just so it sits on my shelf, I bought a copy, and unfortunately it was very, very expensive. It was 110 yen. But the most expensive game I bought was in Osaka at a Super Potato. And that was $15 for Super Mario, or sorry, Mario 64. Oh, I might be close to having... No. It's not 12,000, it's 12,500. Yeah, but there was... the only games I would have loved to have picked up in Japan were the Mystical Ninja series. And I did find them on Game Boy Advance at that Super Potato. But when I say they were expensive, they were $180 each. And I'm a fan of the series, but not at $180 for 2 Game Boy Advance games. And then in Osaka, there was a Konami branded center for something, and I was like, oh, cool. Because I wanted to pick up something, you know, Konami related for a friend. Unfortunately, it was a sports center. It was basically just a generic sporting ground. Which was not exactly what I was hoping for. But I kept my eye out for things. The only thing that I would have liked to have done is gone to one of the cafes, like a Pokemon cafe or the Kirby cafe or whatever. Well, so I looked into the Pokemon Cafe and I looked into the Kirby Cafe, and both of those you need reservations for. You can't just walk in. They do accept walk-ups if people cancel and all that, but there's no guarantee, and I'm like, I'm not going to waste half of my day, you know, dealing with hoping somebody cancels their reservation. So I thought, you know, that's fine. I'm not going to do that. But there was like the Square Enix cafe. I walked past the Capcom cafe in Osaka. I had to think where it was for a second. So it was buried behind this little kiosk of an official Capcom store. But I did that just so I could. Oh, hang on, we can upgrade. I wanted to just to say I'd been there, but everyone that I wanted to go to either required a reservation or when I did get near them and looked at the menus were just not that nice. And when I say that, I just mean like it was just like a lot of parfaits and cakes and stuff. It's like it's not really what I was hoping for when I would go to something like this. So. Oh, who could have foreseen a fight coming here with all these holes bordering the arena? Damn bugs. Because I can hear one just fluttering in the background. One of the things that I did enjoy doing the most, though, I'm not when I say enjoyed doing it, it was such a cool experience, was actually being on the bullet train. They offered free Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi sucked. Like, it was worse than Australian dial-up internet. It was just so inconsistent, and you had to register every time it disconnected. So it literally was like it would disconnect, and you'd have to register again. Look, I mean, I just had a book on my iPad and I just read that for the 2 hours, you know, occasionally staring out the window. The only problem that I had was when I booked it, they just randomly assign you a seat, and that was fine. But because I had a big suitcase, there's only the last row in each of the reserved cars for suitcases. So I was like, okay, cool, that's what I'll have to do. The problem is that when I changed to the to the seat with the luggage behind me, it was at the back end of the reserve thing, right by the smoking room. And unfortunately, Japanese citizens, especially older men, they love to smoke. I don't know why they insist on doing it, but they do. So the problem that I had was that every time somebody went out for a smoke, which was every 5 bloody minutes, they would just stink the entire place up by the door. I mean, it's great they have smoking rooms. So between where I was staying and the train station that I was at, what they do is you can't smoke in public. So they put these smoking rooms up all around the place. And when I say room, that's being generous. It's essentially just 4 walls and a little cut in one of them for an entryway. So they all smoke in this room. When I say all, like, the room will be maybe 5 meters wide by 3 meters deep. Right? It's not a very big room. But they'll do this. They'll do this smoking in this little room. But then what they do, and I can't believe I had to put up with it so much, but they will literally... Oh, it's not what I was hoping for. They will just puff away in these little enclosed spaces, and then what happens is all the smoke just goes out the top anyway. Yeah, because they don't want people smoking in public, like walking and smoking. So they go to these little things. I suspect it's going to take me way longer than it probably should as well. I will say though, I must have looked like a nutcase at times, walking around Tokyo in 12-degree weather with shorts. See, the funny thing is, I know what I need to do, like I know where I need to go from the puzzle, but it's getting the puzzle sorted. I think they were trying to be really clever with it, but it just doesn't make, it's just, sorry, it doesn't not make sense. Especially like when they showed this particular, you know, viewpoint. But it's like, the game honestly just insists that you, the game just keeps going, oh, hold this button to activate. It's like, cool, but it tells you that all the time, not when you're near the area where you can do it. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I had to undo it just because I fell down the bloody hole. Yes, I think one of the options in the menu was like display tooltips or tutorial tips or something. I turned it off. It doesn't seem to have done shit. And that's not because I don't, you know, they're not helpful or anything. They're helpful, but it's like there's a time and a place for everything, you know. Like, you know, people give Nintendo crap for, you know, not having tutorials in their Mario games. It's like, yeah, because it's a Mario game, you really shouldn't need a tutorial. But what they do is when it comes to... Oh, Jesus Christ. I was lucky as hell. When it comes to, you know, games, if you struggle, that's when the game goes, oh, by the way, did you know you could do this, right? Or it pops up the, yeah. What are you doing climbing down, Kratos? That's not what I wanted you to do. It's the world's shittiest Ferris wheel. Yeah, so when you get stuck in a Nintendo game, especially a Mario game, it'll give you like a helpful item to help you get through the level. I don't know if they do that in Wonder. But it's like they've got all these things and they do it specifically to help, but they don't get in your way. Whereas a lot of games, especially from Sony, they absolutely adore pounding you in the head with tutorial after tutorial. Exactly. Oh, not these guys again. I love that. These are ice guys, yet my flame-imbued Blades of Chaos can't hurt them when they're all angry. I love this. Hold the amulet. It's like, yeah, I am holding the bloody amulet. This was the 6th game? I can't remember if this came out before the second PSP or afterwards. But it was either the 5th or 6th game, so I suspect it was more to do with people complaining at some point. Oh, going your voice too hard, I didn't know what to do. I think it was after as well. Oh, the old squeeze through a narrow passage while we load the rest of the level up. Yeah, this one, nobody really expected them to make another one after 3. And it's like, really? You're making a whole new game? What are you doing, right? And then they said it was a prequel, and it's like, hang on, a prequel? It's funny, these guys are over here just minding their business, working on the boat, and they're going to get absolutely destroyed when Kratos, tries to board, because they always do. Well, that's the thing. So the fact that God of War 3 picked up exactly where God of War 2 left off was great. And then the ending was like so cool. And then it was obviously, it wasn't like, it didn't not feel satisfying, but it like left it open. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is because there was already a prequel, it made no sense to have a second prequel.
Only a coward hides himself, Orcos.
You know I'm one of the Furies who forged your bond. You would have killed me before I could even speak.
Then tell me, what has brought you to this betrayal of your own kind?
It was you. The injustice of your oath that made me doubt them. Is it possible that through all your suffering you still do not understand why you were chosen? Why Ares needed you? Why he still needs you?
Speak clearly.
Oh, Kratos. The God of War has been plotting for years. I was brought forth by the joining of the War God and the Fury Queen. In rage and insanity, Ares hoped to conceive the perfect warrior. But I was only a disappointment to him. It was my mothers who spared me. They gave me the task of keeping the oaths. Although my burden was great, I was determined to be of service to those who said they loved me. But it was you, Kratos. It was the final task of your bond that made me question the actions of my family. I sought counsel with Alethea. It was she who revealed to me the plot of Ares to overthrow Zeus. But he needed the perfect warrior. Ares molded you to take down the very walls of Olympus.
Ares, destroy my enemies, and my life is yours!
To make you beholden only to him, Ares and my mothers devised 3 blood tasks. Spill the blood of your enemies. The blood of the innocent. The blood of your very...
The past is the past, Orcos.
past you now seek to rectify.
And I will do so without the aid of a Fury.
As Kratos looked upon the gem, he realized all he need do was fight the forces that gnawed at his mind. His thoughts now clear, the warrior turned his rage to the remaining Furies and their ultimate defeat.
I will give them credit. Linda Hunt narrated all the games as Gaia, which was very cool. That's exactly right. So, not sure if you remember it or not, but basically, because they had him captured, all the torture they did, they explained that it messed with his memories. So he didn't remember how long he'd been here, or why he was here, or where he was, and all that sort of stuff. And that's their way of, you know, giving this the Metroidvania treatment. You stupid dog, stop it. Hello, Beanie Boy. Yeah, look, the story's not the best in this one. Like, they've tried to shoehorn, you know, tiny nuggets of information. And when I say tiny nuggets, I mean little specks of, you know, what Kratos could have been doing before the first game canonically. So yeah, so I think there wasn't enough mythology left to really build out this story properly, but they still tried. And the gameplay's solid, but that's because it's the same gameplay as God of War 3. So there wasn't any real issue with that. It was more just about... Oh, not again. I just kicked your ass. Why are you on the way... the... Look, the Furies are cool, but I would have expected them just to be involved with Hades rather than... than, you know, Oath Keepers. See, when we started this last Monday, and it said the 100 Hands one, I was like, oh, that's a Hecatoncres. I knew that because I know my Greek mythology. I'm not like a master or anything. I just know the basics, but still. Oh, this is where they tried to seduce him earlier.
I have watched you over the years. When you were just a boy, I saw the signs. Even the loss of your brother did not sway your focus. The tragedy.
Oh god, what's his name?
You honed your skills, and now, Kratos,
He does a lot of dub
you
for
have
anime.
fulfilled your promise of greatness. You served with honor. You brought glory to us all, and today, you have earned your place among us as the greatest general Sparta has ever known.
So, there is something you value more than ambition.
She's the one you kill at the end. And I know that because when I installed the game again just to make sure everything was working, the thing that I made sure was working for me was you know, that the save file was there, and the save file that I had when I loaded into it, it was literally the final stage of the fight with her, where I just had to like mash square a few times, and then that was the end of it. See, I honestly, I knew the voice, but I couldn't place it. And it's not me going, oh, you know, I know every voice actor or anything. It's like, you know when you know a voice or an actor, but you just can't place it? It was that scenario. It's funny though, Troy Baker was in everything for years and now he's nowhere. And when I say he's nowhere, I don't mean he's like nowhere, but you know, for the 100 games he was in the space of like 2 years. No. So he's got an album. Like he does music as well. But honestly, it's because he became a dad. Like obviously he was in The Last of Us, the TV show. He had that bit role. I say bit role, but he had that cameo role there. Yeah. So he was in I was gonna say Mythbusters. It's not Mythbusters. Oh, what was that game called? It's going to drive me insane until I look it up. Stray Gods. I'd say I knew it. Yeah. What was the last thing apart from that? What was like? Because he did something. The last big thing that I saw him in. When I say big thing, I mean like big brand. He was in obviously The Last of Us, but he did the Joker. He did a version of Mark Hamill's Joker in the Batman Origin game. I mean, I'm not saying he's not doing anything. It's just like he used to be everywhere, right? That's right. He's been doing a lot of Batman stuff, like Batman. Um, let's see, video games. So 2023, he was the narrator for the Air Superiority update trailer for War Thunder. But video games, here we go. Mortal Kombat Onslaught, which is the mobile game. Fort Solis, he produced Fort Solis, so that makes sense that he was there. But there's only 3 games in 2023. 2 games in 2022, one of which was God of War Ragnarok. 4 games in 2021. But then like 2020, he's in The Last of Us because it's background stuff. Elder Scrolls Online's background stuff. He was in Fortnite. He was in the Avengers game. He was Bruce Banner in that. He was in Dirt 5. He was in Spider-Man. He was the villain in the John Wick Hex game. So there's that. Yeah, he was Batman in the Telltale Batman games. So yeah, he was doing a lot for years, and then he sort of just stopped and went to basically nothing. Like you look at the 2014, he's in Final Fantasy, Titanfall, Infamous, Elder Scrolls, Transformers, Middle Earth. He was Talion in the Middle Earth. I say series, but it was 2 games, but he was in that. Far Cry 4, he was Pagan Min, and he was Alex in the crew. So he's literally in 2 Ubisoft games that came out like a month apart. So he was sort of like everywhere. Stupid game. And I think the problem that he has is people don't want to cast him because he's probably expensive, but he's probably more than that. His voice is too well known, and while he does change it, like if you listen, say, Joel from The Last of Us and Booker DeWitt, for example, in Bioshock Infinite, they're vastly different voices, right? There's no wrong way. Yeah. So they got all the actors back in for the Far Cry weird DLC that they did. And he does have range, but his normal, when he's not putting on like a big accent, his normal voice is very, samey. There we go. Oh yeah, and the motion blur on it was insane. I couldn't see half the stuff going on in those swings. Let's not stare at the giant head anymore. But yeah, so he was in everything, and he unfortunately has the same problem as Laura Bailey, which is ironic because they're both anime actors. And when I say that, I mean they started out as anime, and then you know, branched into games and other things. So Laura Bailey was MJ in the 2 Spider-Man games that Insomniac did. She was in Stray Gods. She was the person that housed Calypso's essence, or whatever you want to call it. She's Kate Diaz in the Gears series. She's Black Widow in like everything that's animated and game related. And the problem, like, she might be a lovely person. I've never met her. And she does put a lot of effort into the role. She was Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. The problem that I have with her is that every single voice she does is the same. Like, if you listen to MJ, I think Troy Baker did work on the songs in that game, alongside Austin Wintory. But yeah, if you listen to MJ from Spider-Man 2 from last year, and compare it to Black Widow from the Avengers game a few years ago, and then Kate Diaz from Gears 5, her voice in those 3 games is identical. She's not putting on a New York accent in one game as opposed to the others or anything like that. She's literally just... It's literally just the same voice. What's really funny is Yuri Lowenthal, who's Peter Parker Spider-Man. Let me bring his thing up. He has been doing... He's Sasuke Uchiha in Naruto. So from the very first time Sasuke appears in the Naruto series, like episode 1, through Shippuden, and then Naruto to Boruto, the sequel series that's absolute garbage, he's been playing Sasuke since then, right? He's been Spider-Man for the longest time. There's just a lot that he's doing. Like, he's the prince in Prince of Persia, right? In the Sands of Time trilogy. He's the prince in the first game and the third game, but they recast the role in the second game to make him edgier, and people hated it, so they went back. He's been Ben 10 for the longest time, but you know, you listen to him as Ben 10 as opposed to, say, Peter Parker. They're very, very different voices. So what are we looking here? So he's been Son Goku in Sayuki Reload, which is 20 years ago now. He was the protagonist character in Persona 4. Let's see, animation. So Ben 10, Ben 10, Ben 10, Ben 10. There's a whole bunch of DC characters in Young Justice and like Teen Titans, that sort of thing. He's been some of the Turtles. He's been in Star Wars. Oh, that was hilarious. There was a TV show, like an animated TV show, where they sort of rebooted Spider-Man after the first movie with Tom Holland came out, and they sent Peter Parker to like mid to the sciencey school, and then they put Josh Keaton, who had been Spider-Man for years in animation. They put him as Norman Osborn. They put Fred Tatasciore, who's like Hulk in like most everything Marvel related. They put him as the nerdy teacher, and then they cast Yuri Lowenthal as Kurt Connors / the Lizard. I remember when those voices popped up, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" Let's see, that's still movies, that's films, video games. Yeah, so he's the prince in the Prince of Persia games. Most of the time. He was he's Rex in Final Fantasy 12. He's a protagonist in Persona 3, which I don't think he's the protagonist in the remake. I think they're doing somebody else for that. He was Alucard in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. He's still doing Ben 10 in all the games. So he's Yosuke Hanamura in Persona 4. So he's in Persona 4, he's just not the same character. Yeah, so that's the thing. So Yuri Lowenthal, he's one of the actors that when I pick up his voice, I'm like, ah, I know they've done something. They've not just cast the name; they've gone for somebody who can do the role. He was in Resident Evil 6. He's in a whole bunch of things as like various voices in that. He's the narrator for the Disney Infinity games, so he's in that. Young Justice, Infamous, Middle-earth, Bayonetta. So in the Bayonetta series, he's Luca, which is Bayonetta's somewhat boyfriend, husband thing. So he's that character. He's Marth from Fire Emblem. He's the English voice for Marth. What are we looking at here? 2018, yeah, Spider-Man. In 2018, he was Spider-Man, Cecil Harvey from Final Fantasy, Superboy from Lego DC Supervillains, and then Alucard and Marth in Smash Brothers. It's a pretty big year for him. He was then Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the Marvel game on Switch, which I thought was great. Yeah, he's in Return to Monkey Island. I forgot that. The moment I heard his voice, I'm like, aha, I know that one. He was Peter Parker and Spider-Man in Marvel's Midnight Suns as well. He was Rick, the door technician in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. He was in Redfall. He was Jacob in Redfall. He's in Mortal Kombat 1. So, yeah. There's a lot that he's in. But my point with him is that his voice is always different. Like, he plays the voice to match what the character needs to be. So, so even he was the cook. So when you went to the kitchen at the back of the bar, he was the cook there. But yeah, no, not that cook. Sorry, he was the cook on the ship. Hang on, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not mixing up my Monkey Islands. Yeah, he's the cook on the Chuck ship. He's one of the two cooks. But yeah, like you pick Peter Parker and Ben 10, and you can hear some parts that are very similar because of the way his voice is, contracts. But the actual characters, the voices for the characters are completely different. So I love it. It keeps facing here. Yeah, it's like as much as I think Mark Hamill is a great voice actor, right? He does, like, the fact that he's Fire Lord Ozai in Avatar: The Last Airbender. We don't hear that voice all that often, but he is that character. But the moment you realize, like, okay, cool. But when he does voice work, you can hear that it's him more often than not. Damn it, I was hoping that would work. Oh, it's because I'm an idiot. I'm doing it backwards. So we're just going to finish off this puzzle, and then we'll end up calling it for the night. But yeah, I don't know. I always find that when you get a good voice actor who can do a lot of different things, you want to use them as much as you can. And unfortunately, just sometimes they go for the popular name. Not that there are really big popular names in voice acting. But yeah, sometimes they just go for the name of person rather than, does it fit?
This will definitely have to go into the record. Record. Must record. Must record. You're the Spartan that Orcos talked about, aren't you? Definitely need to get this down. Definitely need to get this down.
What do you know of the Oathkeeper?
I know he paid for what he's done. They say he was the first marked one, but his father didn't like the way he turned out. I know. I was the first man to be put here by the Furies. See? I've been keeping a record. Orcos was born here. Then his mothers, they became... They used to be fair. Harsh, but fair. Had something to do with Ares, I imagine. The way they treated him. Oh, their own son.
That is no reason to betray your own.
Betrayed his own? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But he did it because of you.
I did not ask for his help.
But you received it nonetheless, didn't you, Spartan? This will make a wonderful addition to the record.
I'm just waiting for it to trigger another save. It triggered it just before... There we go. Triggered it just before that cutscene, but I didn't really want to do the cutscene again. Saving, 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 saving. Right, there we go. But yeah, I don't know. I love the voice acting world. There is actually a documentary. So there's this documentary which is produced by John DiMaggio, which is honestly, if you have any fascination with voiceover at all, it's worth watching. So it's got Pamela Adlon. She's the voice of like Bobby in King of the Hill. Bob Bergen, who's been Porky Pig for like 20 years. Eric Bowser, he's now Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny. He's not great at it, but you know, that's what they've gone with. D. Bradley Baker, who was Daffy Duck in Space Jam, he's in that. Diedrich Baker was Batman in Brave and the Bold. Hank Azaria from Simpsons fame. Steve Blum, Wolverine. Spike Spiegel, a whole bunch of other characters. But there's actually, so that's a documentary. And I owned this on DVD if I can ever find the feckin' thing again. And I put this in here too. So this is a movie made by, it was written by Mark Hamill and Billy West. Billy West is Fry from Futurama. And it was directed by Mark Hamill. And it stars all voice actors doing roles. So Jess Harnell, who's Wacko from the Animaniacs, he's in it. Laurie Allen, she was Susan Storm in the 80s Fantastic Four, a whole bunch of roles. Darren Norris, he's Cosmo from the Fairly Odd Parents. That's one of his more recent roles. Tom Kenny is SpongeBob. He's in it. James Arnold Taylor, he's Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Wars. That's his big thing. Jim Cummings is there. He's Winnie the Pooh, and a whole bunch more. It's not obviously the best movie ever made, but I enjoy it. It's definitely one of those things. Like Tara Strong's in there. Stan Lee does a cameo. Kevin Smith does a cameo. Ray Harryhausen is in the movie, and Matt Groening. Look, Ray Harryhausen's not a name that you'll associate with voice acting, but he was the what's the best way to put it? He was like the stop motion guy. So he did stop motion for the 80s Clash of the Titans, the Voyage of Sinbad. He did, what was the one? He did the one with the skeletons. I must be the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Yeah, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. So the very first time they had elements put onto film that people were interacting with directly, that was him. J.J. Abrams is in there for whatever reason. Paul Dini, he's the guy who created the Batman animated series. Same with Bruce Timm, Ron Perlman. Yeah. What was really funny about this, oh God, the cast just keeps going on and on. What was really funny about it is when I bought this on Amazon, this was years before there was an Amazon Australia, and I ordered this, a Looney Tunes collection, and something else. And after about 6 or 7 weeks, it hadn't arrived. Yeah, no, the Ray Harryhausen was movies, but they hadn't arrived. So I emailed Amazon and said, "Hey, listen, they haven't turned up." Rah rah rah. So they reissued the order. They sent them again, and I was like, "Cool." Like a week later, the box turned up, had my movies in it, and I was like, "Yes." And then like 3 days later, the original package turned up with the same movies. So I ended up with 2 copies of everything. Because it had another movie in it. Oh God, what was it called? The Aristocrats. I will put this in the chat as well. So the film was produced by Penn Jillette, which is the speaking half of Penn and Teller, and it's basically it's designed to shock. It's not something you would watch if you're offended in any way, shape, or form. This is from 2005. So it's almost 20 years old. But it's basically the same setup and the same ending. And it starts out, the start of the joke is a guy walks into a talent agent's office and says, "Hey, listen, I've got an act for you." And then you fill it. It can be 3 lines, it can be 30 lines, it can be a minute long, it can be 10 minutes long, and it can be the most graphic, vulgar things you could possibly think of. And then once you've done with that, the person who's walked in the office goes, "All right, so what do you think?" And the guy goes, "Oh, what would you call an act like that?" And he goes, "Well, you call it the Aristocrats." And yeah, and that's the joke. But it's got Jason Alexandria, Hank Azaria, Billy the Mime, Jimmy Buffett, Eric Idle is in there, Paul Krasner, Pat Cooper, Billy Connolly, Carrot Top for whatever reason, Harry Shearer, Sarah Silverman is in there, Andy Richter's in there, Don Rickles, Chris Rock, Whoopi Goldberg, Gilbert Gottfried. God, he's one. Gilbert Gottfried's Aristocrats joke is honestly, like, it is at times just so this is for something to watch later. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you like not necessarily blue humor, and blues being like, you know, crass and that, but if you like blue humor but you want it to be edgier, this is something to watch. Again, it is the exact same joke, you know, told 100 different times, but the insides of it are very different. Yeah, because people always just associate him with Iago from Aladdin, right? He played it in the movie. He played in the 2 directed DVD movies. He played it in the TV series when there were game roles or you know, cameos in other shows that Disney were doing. He popped in all the time to do it. So everyone just associates him with Iago, and they forget that, you know, he's a comedian. Yeah, it's worth watching if you like that sort of stuff. But before because I've got the clip up and we want to watch it. So with that all done, we'll be back on Thursday for more of our series. I think we got fairly well. We got a good bit of progress in this one. I think we're on chapter 14 or 15, maybe even 16. You know, I can check later. I can see if I can. If I quit out of the game, because it just saved, it'll tell me. Yeah, I honestly put it at 17, so we're even further than I thought. Yeah, so it's 30 is the one above here. So yeah, we're 30. Not that you can see the mouse, but the profile one is at chapter 30. That's the end of it. So, but yeah, Eddie Murphy, Raw and Delirious. I love those things. Oh God, before they released them on DVD, there was you know, we had them ripped from the internet like 2003, 2004. And the clip where Eddie Murphy says, "Oh man, I'm very hot," and you just hear some woman from the audience shout, and then you hear some bloke from the audience shout back, and then Eddie Murphy loses it. We watched that sequence for like an hour trying to work out if we could hear what was being said, and we could not work it out for the life of us, right? Because this was like a rip from a VHS tape of the show. It wasn't the greatest quality. And I remember vividly when it came to DVD, I ordered it from Easy DVD because they were the only people stocking it at the time. And I remember putting it on, and I fast forwarded to that section. I put the subtitles on, and it had the lines in there, and it literally is Eddie's like, "Oh man, I'm hot," and goes, "Woman in audience, will take it off," is what she says, and instantly, like the moment she finishes talking, the guy in audience just yells back, "Shut up, bitch." It's like within the space of 3 seconds, you get, "Man, I'm hot. Take it off. Shut up, bitch." And it's just, it just made my day finally knowing what it was, and it just made it even funnier. So there's some Robin Williams specials, especially the one at the Met, which is the Metropolitan Opera House. That's fantastic as well. I could talk about all this stuff for hours, but I won't because I've got things to do. So we're going to end here. As I said, we'll be back on Thursday. My hope is to have the game done next week. You know, as you can see, we're fairly close to the end.